Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. This is Jennifer Kirschenbaum. I am really excited to present today's topic because I think it's going to be very, very helpful to many of our clients that are listening and to the doctors who are possibly clicking on this recording after the fact. But we're bringing in as a value add a key partner to practices everywhere, doctor.com, to help us talk about an issue that comes up all the time, which is managing your online presence. And in particular, the question that I get is, how do you deal with negative reviews? So our topic today is how to expand and protect your online presence in 2020 and beyond. Our presenters, and I need doctor.com to go to the next slide. Jessica.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you. I'm Jennifer.
I was clicking.
Sorry, we're just figuring out the technicalities here.
Sure.
And I'm a partner at Kirschenbaum and Kirschenbaum with the healthcare department. We have Jessica with us today, who's the sales manager for emerging markets at Doctor.com, and Leander Moore. I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of our firm and then let them introduce themselves. We'll get started. If you want to go to the next slide, Jessica. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's for you guys. Okay, why don't you take this? Go ahead.
All right. Hello, everyone. Doctor.com was founded in 2012 with the mission of helping healthcare organizations deliver a better customer experience at every step of the digital patient journey. More than 30,000 healthcare organizations are powered by Doctor.com's platform. Our network reaches over 100 million patients searching for care every month. We have the only complete platform that enables healthcare organizations to manage every aspect of their online presence and reputation. We are also the system of record for more than 200,000 doctors in the US. We have unique direct partnerships and proprietary API integrations with like Healthgrades, Google, Bing, Facebook, and many more.
Okay, so what I wanted to just present today and have Doctor.com speak on is a basic situation that I hear every day, and this is Jennifer again. So here's what we presented. I treated a patient today. I spent considerable time in the consultation. I thought everything went great, and I did the best that I could for the patient, which is what I do every day and every visit that I walk into. Later that night, I go home, and I finished my notes or whatever I need to do for the night, and I turn on my iPad, and I get a notification that I received a horrible review from this patient that I thought everything went great. And I'm very upset by this, so what should I do now? And the scenario that I have is, as the attorney, is it's very, very difficult to help you with the situation because contacting the online forum that it's posted on is really hard to get it removed unless there's absolute slander, total falsity in it. I really am not going to be very effective to be able to get it down. And from my standpoint, the best way to get a patient to remove a review is to ask them directly. And we can talk later about how can you terminate a relationship with a patient if they refuse. But really, it's about the day-to-day management of your presence online. So that's why I want Doctor.com to present to our audience today, because many of us do not have a relationship for preventative. And in the market today, it's essential. So I'm going to turn it over now to Jessica.
Thanks, Jennifer. It's actually Leander here. Thank you so much for having us today, because this is something, the scenario you outlined above is super, super unfortunate and something that I hear from doctors about all the time when clients come into the office. The good news is that there are a few best practices for immediately handling the situation. First of all, don't panic. Having one or two negative reviews actually makes you look more credible because patients don't think you're manipulating the reviews in some way, which happen all the time. Respond within 48 hours for prompt damage control is something that I would always suggest to my clients here in regards to responding back to a negative review from a patient. Thank them for their feedback and acknowledge their frustration publicly to make them feel heard. Use that negative review as an opportunity to inform and educate. Don't argue or correct, and never lash out at a patient online. Then simply resolve the issue offline to keep the patient's information private and avoid HIPAA violations. You can further avoid HIPAA violations by being brief, generic, polite, and never confirm the reviewer is a patient. And this should go without saying, but never disclose information about an appointment. Doctors have gotten into serious trouble over time and lost a lot of money for divulging too much information on a review. Example number one that I would like to highlight is wait times. And that will be into the next slide here. So you can see that most negative reviews have nothing to do with care at all. Instead, they're really about customer service issues. Wait times, for example, are a common patient frustration that you see a lot in negative reviews. But sometimes a long wait can't be helped. It happens all the time. A doctor's office is a busy place, as you guys know. Things come up, and sometimes sometimes we have to prioritize one patient in a way that will affect another. And responding to a review like this shown above, you should acknowledge the patient's frustration and apologize for the wait time. Remember, patients are still customers and want to feel like they're still customers, and their feelings are valid. Most patients who leave negative reviews just want to feel heard by their doctor, and you can make them feel heard with just a simple response. By responding, you may even turn a negative sentiment around. The next example I would like to talk about is staff complaints, which will be in the next slide here. But sometimes as a patient has a bone to pick with a member of your team, and instead of addressing the issue with your office, they'll vent in reviews. In this scenario, it never pays to get caught up and he said, she said battle. By acknowledging their frustration and accepting their feedback, they'll feel validated and potentially, and in the future, patients reading the review will notice that they're making an effort to prioritize the patient experience and feel more at ease. Example 3, treatment and service. Here's the last scenario I'll go over right now. If someone has a complaint about a treatment or service rendered, respond quickly. Make it clear that your office would never compromise a quality of treatment and services. If a patient complains about something particularly serious, contact them offline to resolve their issue or recommend a follow-up consultation. Then respond to the review with something along the lines, we have reached out to you directly to help you resolve this issue. This will show prospective patients that you're proactive and take patients' concerns very seriously. Next, when not to respond. If you think patients have written something truly false, consider reaching out directly and trying to calmly reason with them. A patient may be willing to correct their statement once they feel heard, but sometimes the best response is no response at all. When a reviewer seems overly emotional or has no specific complaint and is just attacking you or your practice in general, it's best not to engage. Future patients reading these kinds of reviews will usually discount them. Patients are pretty astute and can be discerning when reading feedback from their peers. At this point, depending on how defamatory the review is, you might also consider talking to your lawyer. They can advise the best course of action. Get ahead of the issue. Now for good news, most of the patients are actually quite happy. Satisfied patients don't think review a practice online as much as upset customers do. Doctor.com can help you get ahead of this issue. So if you get a poor review, it doesn't have as much negative impact on your online reputation. Today, we'll discuss how to lay a strong foundation to build a successful reputation strategy upon. Then we'll cover standing out from your competitors, and lastly, how to get more positive, high quality reviews from your happiest patients. Snapshot of the modern day patient. So why is it important to be proactive in your online reputation and presence management? Patients today are more digital in everything they do, including how they look for healthcare providers. Word of mouth referrals used to be the provider's best marketing tool, but that's even changed. People use the internet twice as much as a referral for someone they know, and even if they've been referred, they'll go online and look up the doctor and read the reviews. And now I'll turn it over to Jess to get us started.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Leander. First things first, let's lay the foundation of a solid online brand. We know that patients are looking for information online every day. Having technology always at their fingertips has turned patients into independent learners who want to do their own research. For years, your website was the digital front door to your business. For many years, your website was considered this because it was where people would start looking for information about a provider. Naturally, doctors invested a lot of time, energy, and money into creating great looking, user friendly websites. And while it is important to have an easy to navigate, mobile optimized website, people take a different approach to the web today. Your practice's website isn't where a patient conducts most of their journey anymore. They use Google's conditions and treatment options, and they search for doctors in their area and look up physician names directly, then visit third-party review sites to see what their peers have to say. The review sites even get prime real estate in each search result. This means they show up on the first page of Google and are recognized by patients browsing online. But we have a saying here at doctor.com, Google is an airport, not the destination. While Google is the search engine of record for most people, it's important to zoom out and recognize that patients use a variety of websites in their search. Millions of patients end up on Healthgrades and Vitals and WebMD and other web properties each month. That's why it's important to have your bases covered everywhere and anywhere a patient can find you on search. Doctors need to cast a wide net to reach patients on sites they've already been using to find care. And these websites can't be an afterthought in your online presence strategy. And think about it this way. You can't control what site a patient will go to, so you want to control how good you look on each and every one of these sites so you have the best representation of yourself when they land there. You have an opportunity to take control and become a verified owner of your own profiles. Make sure you have claimed and built out compelling profiles on these sites that influence a patient's decision. Also, make sure your listings are accurate and consistent because incorrect or conflicting information hurts your credibility. If a patient comes across a phone number, an address, hours of operations, conditions, etc., that isn't up to date, you're going to see significant patient drop off. Now, you may have noticed that Yelp is missing from our list of important patient sites, even though it's a pretty big brand name, especially if you're on the West Coast. So I want to address that elephant in the room. Yelp just isn't an effective site for healthcare. I'm sure a lot of you have used it for restaurants and other businesses and industries. Patients just aren't going to Yelp to find providers. They use it for restaurants and salons and dry cleaners, but not necessarily for their doctor. We've learned that healthcare focused sites like our partner Healthgrades get far more appointment conversions, and it just doesn't make sense for providers to focus all of their energies on Yelp or be at the mercy of Yelp. You know, if you are a restaurateur, it might be a different story, but doctors have limited time and we want you to spend it wisely. Now, let's quickly cover a client of ours who needed help with cleaning up his online information. Dr. Eric Anderson realized there were several things wrong on his profiles and directory listings. What's more, he and his colleague were moving their pain management practice from Chicago all the way over to Texas, and he needed a way to make updates to their listings across the sites they were listed on. Usually, something like this could take weeks, if not months. But once they signed up with Doctor.com, our platform started to look for and fix all of their bad data. And when they moved, they could update all of their information from one master profile. In fact, today they enjoy 100% listing accuracy, and our platform continues to work on their behalf around the clock to keep everything accurate and up to date. And on that note, I'll pass the mic back to Leander to explain how making compelling online profiles on sites I just discussed are important to your practice.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jess. I wanted to discuss here in this next slide in regards to how to stand out from your competitors. It's super important to make sure that we work together to make sure that you guys do stand out from your competitors. So when patients are looking for you online, they know the difference from you and the doctor that's down the street. By updating and optimizing your profiles across the most important sites, you achieve high discoverability in search results. Here's what a great presence looks like on the first page of your search results. Yes, the doctor's website shows up top, but the review sites are also prominently positioned on the first page. Her star ratings pop up and out, and so does her Google Knowledge panel on the right here. Set your profile up for success and dominate the page. When you're building out your profiles, include a rich biography and showcase your personality. High quality photos give patients an inside look at what your office looks like, as well as the people at your practice, and they can expect to meet. You can use compelling video content to tell your story and explain the care philosophy. Showcase great reviews and high ratings. And aside from your specialty, include any awards, accolades you've earned, where you went to school, what you love about what you do, your hobbies, and other facts that will tell your patients who you are, and make you stand out. And make sure you have clear calls to action so patients know how to take the next step and contact your office. Beware of competitors targeting you. Lastly, beware of the competitors are likely targeting you with ads on your profiles. If you're not proactively taking steps to keep them off your page, you risk patient leakage, meaning patients are most likely to click away and book an appointment with someone else. If you want to learn more about this, just let us know. We offer a package that prevents competitors from advertising on your page and even lets advertisers on theirs. Dr. Woodbury quote. Lastly, it's important to get a robust profiles and great reviews and ratings in place before investing too much in advertising or SEO. Even if you have great ads or successful SEO strategies, patients will still look up online and sites we've been discussing and go to another practice if they don't find enough information about you or if they see you have low ratings. Here's how our client and dermatologist, Dr. Woodbury, puts it. And speaking of reviews, Jess can take us through the next steps.
Thank you so much, Leander. This really helps set the stage for our next section, which is how to not only use reviews to your advantage, but to start collecting more great reviews from your happiest patients. Patient-generated reviews on third-party sites are huge in building trust with broader community of people looking for doctors. Not to mention, it's a great way to bury any negative reviews out there. Now, customer reviews are taking over every industry, to no surprise. To step back a little bit, we want to take a look at some of our other heavy hitters, such as Amazon, Seamless, Airbnb, right? Customer reviews are really taking over in a big way since patients are reading these reviews, scrutinizing them before they buy products. They check Airbnb reviews before staying at someone's place, and they only rely on sites like Healthgrades for a physician's reviews when they're vetting a doctor. Because we know nobody goes to Healthgrades for fun, right? People really want to hear from their peers online to understand what they can expect from their healthcare providers. In fact, patients ranked physician ratings and reviews as the number one most important factor they consider before making a doctor's appointment. Patients want to be treated like consumers today. They even trust online reviews as much as they trust a personal recommendation from someone they know, especially when they see reoccurring themes throughout these reviews. Doctors who embrace this new consumer behavior are better able to stand out from the competition and gain the trust and loyalty of more patients. Conversely, a huge majority of patients say that they would change their mind about seeing a provider with a poor online reputation. Now, the best defense is a good offense. If you don't have a lot of reviews, you're vulnerable to one negative review dragging down your overall rating. This is what we talked about at the start of the webinar. You think you've done everything right, but then for some reason, a patient gives you a low score online. Ouch. You should have at least 10 reviews, rule of thumb, to protect yourself from this scenario. And then you need to continuously add that base to strengthen your reputation and keep your profiles fresh and relevant. Luckily, just getting 1 or 2 new reviews per week is sufficient. When you actively collect reviews from happy patients, then the 1 or 2 less than glowing reviews don't carry as much weight, and your star ratings will remain high. Now, let's take a look at one of our clients here, Dr. Lamb, in which we did a case study for. Now, Dr. Lamb had one of his former patients who were trying to punish him online for billing policy by leaving him a bad review. But instead of caving and reversing the charge, Dr. Lamb started working with us to help him collect more reviews from all of his other patients who were 100% satisfied with their experiences. This way, he hoped to drown out that single voice with more positive feedback. And ultimately, he was very successful. His rating went from a 2.4 to 4.99 stars out of 5 stars in just 4 months. As you can see, his marketing specialists took our message to heart. Whenever they get a bad review, they push even harder for positive reviews because they know that most of their patients are happy customers and will give them glowing feedback. All we have to do is make it easier for these patients to leave positive feedback. One of the ways we help doctors do this is through our Review Hub, which is a laptop that sits in your office or waiting room and captures patient reviews right at the point of care. Then it publishes each review on top healthcare sites automatically, like HealthGrades, Vitals, Wellness, your Facebook page, your website, and more, without the patient having to write the review over and over and saving everyone time and energy. Now, in terms of HIPAA compliances, online reviews can open up a can of worms when it comes to HIPAA compliance. Jennifer, I'd love to hear your thoughts on HIPAA compliance in the digital age. What do you tell your clients about responding to online reviews and generally handling this part of the practice?
So thank you, Jessica, for kicking it back over. It is really scary interacting online when it comes to patients because we can have significant exposure from the Office of Civil Rights, which is the federal government enforcement agency that makes sure that we maintain HIPAA compliance for patients. Patient information is protected, and anything that's individually identifiable is what's protected. So the patient's name, the services, and the patient, by posting, is not implicitly authorizing you to utilize their information online. So we have to be very, very careful. While I 100% endorse the message that Doctor.com is conveying today, which is why we're hosting them, is that it's incredibly important to have this presence online and also be able to respond properly. We have to be very, very careful in the information that we share. So I want to give one quick case study because we're not going to devote a lot of time today on this particular issue, but I think it's important to address a little bit. Jessica, if you want to go to the next slide, this is a recent case that it's the 2016 is when the allegation came, but the determination by the Office for Civil Rights is recent. This practice, this Elite Dental Associates, used patients' information in responding to a negative review. And it's very easy for this to happen. It's the same scenario we started with. You get home late at night, you turn on your computer, you can't believe that this person that you spent such a quality time with and that you addressed their medical or dental issue, and now they have the audacity to slam you. Maybe they're mad that they had a copay. Maybe they thought they had covered their deductible for the start of the year with another provider and they don't want to pay. Usually it's money related. Or they felt that they had to wait too long. And even if your visit went well, for whatever reason, they felt aggrieved and they left a negative review. You want to feel that you can defend yourself. And what this practice did was they disclosed the patient's information related to treatment, trying to respond to the review, and then they were fined $10,000 by the Office for Civil Rights, which also does not include the legal expenses and the aggravation that they would have had defending against this claim. So the Office for Civil Rights Director, Roger Savino, uses this as a cautionary tale and says social media is not the place for providers to discuss a patient's care, even if it's in a defensive context where they're trying to educate the public as to why an individual would have left a negative review. He says that doctors and dentists must think carefully about patient privacy before responding to online reviews. We have to be thoughtful, and we cannot disclose patient information, even if it's in a defensive tactic that's responsive to information the patient, him or herself, posted online. So I'll flip it back to you, Jessica, and that's really just it, a cautionary tale for our purposes today.
That's great, Jennifer. Lesson learned, and when in doubt, less is more. Thank you for that. Now, with that, we've reached the end of our presentation. So thank you all for spending the last 30 minutes or so with us. We hope you've enjoyed yourselves this afternoon and have some great action items you can start expanding and protecting your online reputation. Before we get to the Q&A segment of this webinar, it's important to mention that actually scheduling the appointment is an important step of the patient journey and often one of the hardest. According to our survey, 60% of patients prefer making or requesting through digital means instead of calling your office. And not only is this step up from 45% over the year before, but we also expect it to increase the next time we conduct our survey. Make it easy to schedule or request an appointment everywhere patients find your practice, like Google, Healthgrades, etc., not just your own website. And avoid companies that make you pay a fee every month for every appointment scheduled. For example, ZocDoc charges its doctors every time a patient books an appointment through its app or website, whether they show up or not. When ZocDoc introduced this policy, a lot of doctors were pretty mad and disappointed. We don't do this. We don't see why our doctors should be penalized for the success they have with our platform. And I'm happy to talk more about this in the Q&A or on one of our webinars after this. Lastly, I just want to point out a couple useful sites. The first to Doctor.com's practice diagnostic tool, which can analyze your web-wide presence and reputation in just a couple of minutes. You can see here on the screen. It's free, it's fast, and it identifies gaps in your online efforts so you know exactly what you need to start working on. And the second is where you can reach out to a Doctor.com practice consultant. They can give you a more in-depth look at some of the strategies and technologies we've discussed today and customize the approach you're looking for and customize what you're looking to achieve for the practice. If you'd like to know more or have any questions later on, I'd love to open the floor now for any questions, or you may reach out to us via the scan.
So thank you, Jess. I just, I'm sorry for the change here, guys, but I'm just going to try to put up our last slide, which has some contact information for doctor.com in case anyone wants to reach out and discuss. Sorry, this is taking a little long to get to the end here. But this has Leander and Jessica's information on it. And most of you know me and know how to reach me, especially from the newsletter. And we do have a chat log here. If anyone wants to pose any questions or has any follow-up concerns on how they might want to respond. And I'll just leave the contact information up for a minute. And any follow-up that you do have, you can always email to us if you have an anonymous question. I do have a question, actually, Jessica, for you on the appointment. How easy is it, for patients to go on and book through the health grades?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we provide the appointment request button right at the top of the doctor's page. And basically they would click on to book an appointment, and then the doctor would have a customized drop down of their procedures. They can request the type of appointment they want. They'll enter their information, and the practice will receive the appointment as a request, in which then they would call the patient, verify their information, verify why they want to come into the practice, and then confirm it there. So I like to call it a digital voicemail, if you will. And it's a very simple for patients to request the appointment, whether it be from your health grades profile, your Google My Business page, or any of the profiles we power this button for. And it's intuitive for them, as well as the practice.
So you guys, because this is pretty great. So basically what you're explaining to me, and I have to run our firm's website to a degree, so I kind of have a little bit of information on this, but for our practice managers who are listening, basically you guys will create a button that they can stick on their own personal website?
Exactly. And we completely changed the layout of the profiles where we do this as well. So we enhance the profile for the patient experience. So you'll see that our doctor.com health grades profiles look a little bit different than other regular basic profiles.
Okay, so you guys basically just offer a seamless solution for patients to just book on the internet.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, I know that may sound like a silly question, but for a private business owner that's not tech savvy, that's kind of, you have to go basic, I think. I mean, for me at least, I don't have a way for clients to book appointments online, so that sounds pretty mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, totally. And ZocDoc definitely opened the floodgates of online scheduling, and a lot of doctors do like that service, and I appreciated it. But once they started charging per patient out of nowhere, it kind of rubbed people the wrong way. So we're almost, one of our features in terms of our appointment online requests is ZocDoc for the rest of the internet. So it is a seamless experience, but we do put more power and control in the practice's hands by allowing them to vet those patients before they come into the practice. But great question, Jennifer. Is there any other questions around the reviews or the profiles that I could add more clarity to?